Here we are.
NostraThomas.
The Nostra
We meet again.
Thomas show.
Is it Nostra or Nostra? I'm not sure.
Well, I'm going with the NostraThomas because it's easy
Okay,
for
you can
people
go
that maybe
Nostra.
don't know all about Nostradamus.
I say no, she say nos, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Hey,
It's still the same.
good to reunite with you again.
Excellent.
It's going to be over the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to go back and talk about some of our concert experiences and some of the people we ran across, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Good, bad, and
Yeah.
ugly.
And it's not all pretty.
Plenty of ugly.
Absolutely.
For my guests, Mr. Sports, John Batcho, a very famous disc jockey in the area for many, many years. We became friends on the concert circuit, also the Conneaut Lake Park circuit.
Absolutely. We did the Mahoning Valley Scrappers the first year,
That's exactly
1999.
Right. Yep.
And there'll never be a year like the inaugural season. That was
Nothing
absolutely
like
incredible.
Yeah, I remember getting the blueprints for the stadium. Since I was involved in it, I was circling my seats from the blueprints before they were ever. These are the seats.
Oh my God! Oh, those were good times. Those were good times.
Yeah, it was quite amazing because while you're sitting there, you just can't believe you were at a shopping center. The way it's situated, and that you're in a different world.
I literally had to pinch myself because that summer, was a half-season New York Penn League. And then they went all the way to the New York Penn League Championship final against Hudson Valley. But I had to pinch myself. I mean, these are Cleveland Indian future wannabes. And a lot of these guys, like CC Sabathia, Victor Martinez. Yeah, these guys went on to become major league stars at one point, and you knew them when. So it was a pretty exciting experience at the time.
It was. And I got to play on that field.
How'd you do?
If you missed a ground ball on that field, chances are you're not a very good fielder.
Oh boy, it's that slick.
It's that perfect of it's kind of like fielding off a gym floor. There's no bad hops. I mean, it was really something else. I got to play on there quite a bit. I would step in with my sandals on, take some batting practice, like just walk right up.
You know what's funny? I think in my buddy Bobby Hobbs, and you met him because we did a show at the Old Summit Radio Studios about a heroin book that he had written. He asked me to play in a 50 and over league. And I really considered it, Tom, because I want to go back out there and, I just want to pitch one more time. I want to be Kevin Costner on the mound and do it. Just throw. And then I kind of took a turn for the worst health-wise. And I'm like, I think my playing days are over. I've got to face it. I don't know. If I threw 40 miles per hour or something, I would be so disappointed.
I don't think so. Your arm is about the last thing to go.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I went down when I was 48 and able to play to Scene Park. I picked up a ground ball and threw it to first and then almost hit the guy in the face. And they went, maybe you're not ready for this yet. Because I had never stopped playing all the way through my third. I played actual downtown on a 30 and over 20. So when I got to that, why are people running the bases? I wasn't getting the 50 and over was 50 and much over maybe.
But you're playing hardball. You're not playing softball.
It was hardball.
I mean, these guys are, trying to wing it.
But what I did notice, John, one game, several grounders at third. I slid into second. I woke up like somebody dragged me from behind a truck.
Oh boy.
So I don't care what kind of shape you're in.
You don't bounce back.
Your
like
body
you used to.
does not.
You can't handle the
It just, what was, who cares for 3 games on a Sunday? You went home and who cares? One game and you are not playing the next day. That's the difference.
People ask me, it's like, how do you consider yourself athletically from high school? And I played 1 year AA ball. This is all I had, Tommy. It was my right arm. I mean, it was God's gift to me. Dad was a pitcher, but I had some great moments. I mean, some great moments. Was I consistent? No. I had control problems as a pitcher. I'd either strike you out, I'd hit you, or I'd walk you. That's the way it was. No one really wanted to bat against me because I didn't know where the ball was going, but those are great memories. And speaking of Caparo Field, Eastwood Field, I look back at some of the fondest times you and I had together. And I remember some of the grand concerts that you were front and center and involved in, and Bad Company and Kansas and But you mixed this one concert. I don't know if it was your idea or not. We had
Oh, that was not my
we had a
idea.
rap artist with a rock artist,
Yeah.
and go ahead and tell the story. It
I
was very
believe
unique.
that was the idea of trying to sell more tickets. It's the guy that was stealing money, right?
Mm,
It was before the Blue Oyster Cult band, and
Okay.
that night,
yes.
that was the night, right?
hmm
I got hit in the back with a folded up $20 bill. I thought it was an awesome beginning, but I thought this is really weird. I don't believe it sold 2 more tickets, but it was an odd. But they started doing that. That became like a trend. It all kind of mixed.
Didn't Kool and the Gang, they had a mixture of somebody at the same venue a number of years ago, and I
Kool and
guess
the
that went off
Gang-
pretty good. So maybe you guys were trendsetters
Well,
back then. Who knew?
With the Village People, we did Kool and the Gang,
Okay.
which was the early ones were huge, but that particular show was not a good success. It looked like a great success, like we always talk about. But by the time we were done with crystal ball dance floors that somebody wanted to put in, you didn't have even a chance. Even after that night, particularly sold the most alcohol in concert history.
That's
Disco seems to sell a lot of.
And that's the thing, Tom. I wasn't front and center like you, but I was involved in a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And, you watch these bands interact and what they were really like, but also from the financial perspective, where your ass was on the line, per se. And people would look out into the crowd. And you and I talked about a Rib Burnoff a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom Sharp's making hands over fists and dollars. He's making tons of, look at all these people here. Look at all the beer sales and everything, but you weren't. And I remember telling you, because you had this look on your face like, you knew. You knew.
It's just something that I got I guess I had that coming to me because I would always go to Dominic and say, oh, come on, get in a good mood, slap him on the back.
Yeah.
Do the same things that happened to me when now it was, oh my gosh, this is way harder than I thought.
Yeah.
Especially when I start taking it over and he bowed out, I figured out why. People just don't stand around and drink outside till 11, 12 anymore. It just doesn't happen anymore.
To educate the public, what gets so expensive? Is it the stage hands, the crew, the lighting? You got to pay all of these people.
What it is you start out with expensive acts from day one. Okay, we didn't start out with Billy Bob and the Boppers. We came right at you
with major acts.
So you can't go backwards.
Right.
We tried that a couple of times, went to copy bands. It didn't work. People expected Michael Stanley Band, Charlie Daniels. Now you can't go from Dennis DeYoung to Dennis Johnson Young.
Right.
From Canton. You just can't.
Right.
But what's the problem is people expected a $6, $7 ticket. So you got a soft ticket. You got a $20,000 act, and you got a major staging, and it's so physical. Everything about it is physical between the getting.
So you dig this massive financial hole before you
even roll a dice. You got, and then in the best of weather, bluebird weather, you might do good. But if you have one rainy night on the Friday or Saturday, it's over, and that was always the denominator that you can't keep doing. It's really hard to do right now.
You said that David Lee Roth, for as outrageous and as raucous as he was, you found him delightful to deal with, and a lot of people wouldn't expect that from Diamond Dave, who's reputed to be nuts.
When we had him, we didn't have a really good place for him to stay. So we ended up Scrapper's umpire room. Not exactly probably what he was used to.
Yeah.
Okay. So I expected, because we've had so many different things and people are crazy. You do WWE shows where they're threatening your life if you don't get them stuff, and you've done all these things. You're expecting this to be, oh no.
Right.
He came out every now and then, would do some kicks, twirl the mic stand.
Oh, wow.
Do some little karate move, get the little suntan, go back in. That's it. I mean, he didn't ask for, he asked for certain kinds of food, um, certain kind of cheeses, things like that, nothing, and certain kind of beer. But then showtime, it was Jack Daniels, and that cold Jack Daniels. So I get him the first one up there, and he's just kicking tail, because if you remember that, he went on some nighttime show circuit singing country songs and that.
Right.
So we didn't really know what we were going to get. But he went out there, first of all, really weird about who was in the front row, because they were taping it. So he didn't like the looks of some of the people in the front row.
They want hot girls down front.
Yeah, he told me to
They
get
ask you to do
the
that.
chubby.
Wow.
He said, move them, give them food or beer or something, and get them out of the front row.
Wow.
So there's a Diamond Dave special that we were kind of expecting, and they did buy into it. And then it was just, okay, now it's perfect. But
Yeah.
he drank 3 bottles. Now, people were asking me, is that real? It's real. He's drinking that, unless he's doing some kind of magical act. But he went through 16 songs with no breaks, all from the music, the record, like you'd hear it.
Right.
No melodies, no everybody in the crowd sings, so I don't have to. That crap that when I go to shows, I hate that. No, we paid you to do it.
I didn't pay.
I don't want to hear the fans sing.
I agree. I hate that.
Oh, I would get sick.
And I've seen that more than once.
And you're waiting for this certain song, and then it's a melody. Oh, Barry Manilow did that at Cavelli, and I was
Donnie Iris. You brought him to the concert, and I remember you were really generous. And my cousin Pete, who's a police officer in Liberty, it's the only time I believe you ever got to meet Donnie, and that's because you let him come back. And then the next thing I know, there's 4 bikini-clad babes with me and Donnie Iris backstage.
And you told me,
and who's Mr. T from Mr. T's Heart of Gold?
And he was sitting at the.
Yes,
he had so much
Tim.
food.
Yeah, was it Tim? Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just go get the chairs and roll the barrels. And you guys just go ahead and have fun. And
but Donnie was the kind of guy, and I remember
he was the nicest, one of the nicest people,
the most down-to-earth person. And I remember somebody got backstage. It's like, where's Donnie Iris? Where's Donnie? He's looking around starstruck. Is that Donnie's one? I said, he's sitting right there. He was so inconspicuous, Tom, that he's sitting there and he's, hey, how you doing, man? That's how he is. And he's just the nicest guy, and he'll take a photo with you. He'll autograph things with you. Yeah. And if you set him up with a babe like you did, he'll take that as well. But just a great artist.
He was good. And another guy that could choose maybe not to sing certain songs that's the way love ought to be. You got to hit at the end of that song.
Right.
He was on his knees. That's one of the greatest screamers ever.
You know, people ask me, because really Donnie was to Western Pennsylvania what Michael Stanley was to Cleveland. Who was better?
Right.
John, who was better? And tell me if I'm wrong, Tom, because you know more than I in terms of dollars and cents. I thought Michael was the bigger draw. I thought Donnie was the better show. It is certainly near the last 10 years.
That's exactly true.
That's how I felt.
That's right.
Like Michael would sell tickets for you for whatever, but Donnie would put on the better, more dynamic show.
Totally correct. It's really funny because I think Donnie had more national hits. Michael Stanley.
It was close. It was close
because he had a couple there, Aaliyah, and then the
Love Is Like a Rock.
Yeah, that really kind of. Heartland, I think, had a couple that hit the.
They had
Kevin
Lover.
Raleigh did.
Yeah, and there were a few songs. Actually, Lover's their best known hit, in my opinion. But He Can't Love You was always the one that went top 40. And ironically, it was Kevin Raleigh on.
It was Kevin Raleigh, on that one too. And
well, I remember the first time I asked Michael about that. I said, "Hey, he finally broke through top 40." He goes, "It's not even my song." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, but good times.
Wait, and he had the other one that was Kevin Raleigh sang that was popular. Can't let you know that you're on to me. What's that? When I'm holding you tight.
Oh, great.
That was a Kevin Raleigh.
That was a charter for their MSP.
Yeah. Kevin Raleigh was the charter.
There you go.
But those are the ones that I pull up first.
One guy I did not like, and I think you had an incident with him, Robin Zander of Cheap Trick. I think it was at your rib burn off, and we used to go at Y103, and it was my job to go around with a tape recorder, and it's like, And everybody would do it. Hi, I'm Ted Nugent. You're rocking on Y103 with Mr. Sports. You're doing this, doing that. Everybody did it. RS Speedwagon, Aerosmith did one for us. And there's Robin Zander. And I walk up to him. I said, hey, Robin, you just standing there, Tom, all by himself. I got my recorder. I said, hey, we're putting on this show. We're involved with the sponsorship of it. Will you give me a liner? I'm Robin Zander, Cheap Trick. We play your music a ton. I'm busy. That's what he tells me. I'm like, okay, I'll come back later. I come back 5 minutes later. He's still standing there looking around. Rob, can you do that now? It'll take you 2 seconds. I'm still busy. And I honestly wanted to flip him off and say, you know what? This ain't 1978 anymore,
No,
pal.
wait.
That's how I felt.
I'm going to go to, it was the show that we did at Eastwood Field that he tried to throw me out of my own locker area.
Are you kidding me?
It was him, nobody else. Zander.
Yeah.
And then he told me that they're having trouble with the wall in front of the stage. It wasn't high enough. And if you know me, I seem to say things that, boy, I'd like to get that one back.
Well,
I said, I doubt
I can't imagine you doing that, Tom.
60-year-old women can scale the wall, but
yeah.
I don't think you have anything to worry. We went sideways real quick. That didn't play well.
Did anybody almost abandon you at concert time? Did you have anybody that blew up and almost abandoned you? Cause I've seen.
We had several. We had Todd Rundgren didn't want to play any of his hits. Dominic couldn't get him to play his hits. Nobody wants to hear your latest works and that. I mean, you're paying them. But I had the rapper Ja Rule, who was a pain in the Aunt Fanny, and he was only about this tall, and he would complain about everything. He said Smoking Bill's daughter wasn't hot enough to drive around. I need somebody hotter than that to drive me around. Yeah. I go, look, we're not looking for hot chicks for you to get driven around.
Right.
Paid that guy $90,000. He didn't even know where he was at. He said it was Cleveland, and he had no band or anything. And the one song he did have with J-Lo, he sang one part and left the other part blank, but he was complaining it was too hot. I had it with him. It was about 5:30, just before. And he says, I'm not playing a full set. I'm not doing it. I said, well, you know what? You can do your greatest hits. I guess you'll be out in 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
And that was, the manager turned around, everyone kind of, oh my gosh. And wise when you've paid somebody to make.
This wasn't your show, but I'll never forget this because you could relate. The promoter scheduled the act and was Dave Mason. Remember him from Traffic?
Sure,
and he had the solo hit, We Just Disagree.
We Just Disagree.
In a way, haven't seen you. Yeah, I'm not going to sing. But anyway, Dave had an attitude. And
really?
I get, yes.
With one song.
And I get there and he got, I forget, I want to say 20 grand in cash. And he insisted on cash payment. Well, then he changed. Tom, he's supposed to play at 9. Now people were filing at 7:30 or whatever, but he's scheduled to take the stage at 9. He comes back and tells the promoter, I'm playing at 8. I want to get the hell out of here. I said, no, you're not. He goes, I'm playing at 8. I'm leaving. And the promoter says, you're not playing until 9. He goes, well, I'll tell you what, you finished your warm-up set. The promoter took his instrument and his drum set and everything and said, I'm holding these as liability. You go on at 9. And Dave Mason threw the cash at him. I watched that. I'm like, oh my,
you've got.
And I was supposed to interview Dave right before the show. I was going to bring him out and everything. Never happened. He was too pissed off. I mean, it was unbelievable.
So he threw the money at him.
He threw cash. I could still see 20s and 50s flying in the air. Yeah, that's how mad he was. So, they can dictate and they can be very difficult. There's certain people, as you know, they want certain drinks. There was a rumor that Pat Benatar, who I love dearly, she had to have her own washing machine. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard from B&B backstage. Could be untrue, but I found that extraordinary.
I had Paul Rogers, great guy, but he had to have his leather pants done before the show. And it was like this major deal. So I had my brother take the pants and get these cleaned somewhere. I don't know who does leather pants. Well, it just became this big major deal. And I'm giggling like off air, like, I'm calling my brother, where's these leather pants? He gets to come back. And you know, security at the gates early days was like Naziville. You're not getting in without paying this parking fee. There's all these people. I know so-and-so from Y103 and all this.
Yeah.
So you had this major deal.
Right.
My brother is trying to get in with Paul Rogers pants and they're not buying that story. So, I mean, I had to actually go to the gate and grab these pants so Paul could get out there and do his thing. So these are the things that while you're sitting in the stands
that go on.
And you know what? We hire you to pump up the shows for years and years. So
yeah, I mean,
but here's the fans, what they're connected to. There's famous Mr. Sports. I know he can get me a pass, somebody's hat, a signature, a guitar. Do you know how hard it was for us to get ourselves one of that? That was not easy.
Everybody thought backstage passes were just to go, oh, Tom Sharp has a backstage.
It's got a whole big pocket full of them.
Just walk in. Oh, it's Tom Sharp. Come on in and party with us. The craziest stories that I've ever had.
The acts did not want you. They made a big deal about it.
Eddie Money, I thought, was beyond accessible. He was just so great. And we had him at least 10 times. Now, Tom, you could relate. You could relate to this, except one night. It was a perfect night. Don't know what happened. He'd always drawn well, and I want to say it was at the old B&B backstage up in Boardman, which no longer exists.
Right? Yeah, the old B&B.
And we're like, man, I hope we get a good walk up. You know where you're here. You know, start sweating it out. It was terrible. The crowd. I don't even know if we had 2,000 people there, but Eddie was like always a character. I mean, he was a lot of that stuff going on. He drank.
Stopped drinking.
We literally had to help him off the stage. And I'll never forget. He's like this whole, and you know, God bless his heart, but I mean, he was whack, and he couldn't sing that night. And this is up at Conneaut, I think. And he turned the mic toward the crowd, and they did most of the singing all night. And I don't like that. I'm like, man, they didn't pay to see that, you know. So. But most of the time he was great, but he told some crazy stories, and I always had so much fun with him.
When he was trying to stay off the sauce, he would then fly off the handle. Like if he seed somebody with a beer back there, he'd get really mad because he just didn't want those triggers. So he would just fly off the handle. I thought he said no beer. You know, you were trying to keep. See, that is when somebody else give me a backstage pass because there's so many things going on back there. That, you know, they try to dictate, the band tries to dictate what's going on and who's back there and who might, you know.
Eddie's backstage one time, and he was always accommodating with his listeners and fans and everything. One day, I don't know why, but he wanted to cut off the meet and greet. And I'm sure you went through that. 20 was like the max. Only 20 can go back. And I'll never forget Eddie come out. And I don't know if he didn't hear him. He didn't see him. He was lit up or whatever, and he goes, Jesus, see, how long is this gonna take? And all the people heard him, and it's like, who wants to go up and shake his hand now? I mean, they were horrified, you know. So I mean, you could have a bad night, you know. But for the most part, I mean, the guy was just fun. I mean, he was like I could call him out in California, he'd answer the phone, and he'd BS with me, and always just great times with him. Best concert you ever saw, best concert you ever did, the one you're most proud of.
The best concert, most combination. I'd still leaning towards best concert. Bad Company was a good,
that was
money maker. I just enjoyed David Lee Roth's show because I was a big fan.
How about, even if it wasn't your concert, a concert you went to that you'll never forget? I have a handful.
I have a handful. We've been together. We went and saw Boz Scaggs, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah. Tommy and I go with our ladies. We go see Boz Scaggs, Michael McDonald, who was representing the Doobie Brothers and his solo stuff, and Donald Fagen from Steely Dan, who was doing Steely Dan tunes up at the Nautica. And that's the first time I'd ever been to Nautica on the water, and I was like blown away. And he had us nice seats too. We were sitting real nice and close.
Yeah, and your girl said, I thought you said front row. Yeah. I go, oh my gosh, I'm in the third row.
You got third row. I mean, you have to live with it, you know. But man, that's right up there. I think, because Journey, they've been in band fighting Steve Perry forever. Styx, with Dennis DeYoung and Jay Y and Tommy Shaw, they've been fighting forever. Grand Funk, those guys don't get along. But I had the pleasure to see Styx together when Dennis DeYoung briefly reunited with them. It was at the old Pittsburgh Star Lake, I think,
Star Lake
or Post Gazette or whatever they call it at the time.
Was Star Lake.
It was unfreaking believable. It was one of those nights that you didn't want to end. They were that good together. I don't know why these bands can't fix it.
Apart too. So the ELO that I just went to was.
Did you go to that?
I got to go.
I wanted to go.
And here's the thing.
My buddy Dennis went.
Here's the great, and I wanted to get to this because you're going to understand it. ELO, even at its height, did well. I mean, big, but even after like 80s and that, they would get maybe 10,000 people, whatever. Then they broke off, come back. Then it was Jeff Lynne for a while. Then he went to the Traveling Wilburys and did all that. This last show, now me and Dominic, God rest his soul, had always wanted to go together to see this show. If you remember, they were going to do Cleveland Convocation early 2000s for Zoom. They couldn't get the spaceship right. They canceled the whole thing. There we are with our $81 tickets. So I'm thinking it's over.
Right.
They do this thing. They're Jeff Lynne, ELO, and I wait till the last minute thinking, PPG Arena, that's 28,000 people. I think we're going to be fine. We were not fine. That was the last show their last show ever ended up in Pittsburgh. What had happened is the momentum of the shows had been gaining so much that by the time they were selling all the tickets, I got a miracle for my son's birthday. My son's 20-some years old. He remembers sitting in my car, me pushing this 70s stuff on him, and he became a big fan of ELO. So on his birthday, we get seats right on the very bar edge, right over the stage. And I got people behind me I know that paid double for seats that couldn't even tell if Jeff Lynne or Jeff Logo. I mean, they didn't care. But we had a memorable for the point where I had tears in some of the songs, and they did them perfect. And thinking about, there's Ange, who we grew up, me playing those songs for her. And now I've got Tommy sitting there beside me. It was just like a once in a lifetime thing.
I missed that. And they're still on my bucket list. Never got to see them. Another one I saw, and I think you could relate to this, because we have similarities, Tom and I do, in genres of music. Deep at heart for both of us, I think we're soft rock guys.
For sure.
You and I like that yacht rock, that
I love that
Ambrosia, that America, that England, Dan and John, Holy Firefall. I like that stuff. Bread, great stuff. But
Hamilton, Joe Frank,
and Reynolds, don't pull your love, baby, falling in love.
I was 12 years old when that song was popular. I had a little transistor radio and was playing all those songs.
But another one, they were in that vein. I got to see Earth, Wind, and Fire in Chicago together. That was in Pittsburgh as well. I'm like, how's this going to mix? Because you got Black and White.
It mixed good,
didn't it? Though, because they both are horn-based type bands, and you never saw more colorful clothing. From the African American, a supportive group from the 70s that came, yellow bell bottoms, white shoes. It was a party. We had a blast, and they would trade each other songs. And that was another night I didn't want to end. And here's one more. And you were involved with this one. However, financially, it ended up being a disaster. Tom and I got to see my favorite all-time MTV new wave band, The Fix. And they were, I literally, they are my favorites over Duran Duran, The Cars, you name it. The Fix was my group. And I remember you invited me, and you let me bring my buddy Mike Masick, and there was only like 12 people there. And we were there with the original Fix, Cy Kernan, the original Fix. Band. There weren't any imitators. They were the original Fix.
No pulled plug crap. They had the whole band there, and I had my son there. He was like, we had probably 200 people total, and that's with everybody's family and everybody total. And they missed because they didn't hold anything back. They played. It was actually sad that they were that good and nobody got to hear that.
That's amazing. I mean, you have no idea what you missed out on.
Nobody promoted, because that Larry had the thing, and what we did was brought him
Larry
the
from Hammerjacks.
Yeah, I brought him the act, and we said, hey, Tony Rubino, hey, I can get this. It's only going to cost, it's a miracle. Great. Well, that's great, but you have to tell people they're coming.
Right.
You know, well, they know the facts is at the Expo Center. Nobody knew about it.
And then, Tom, finally, the last one that comes to mind, and we were involved with this, it was at the Powers Auditorium. And I thought the upper balcony at Powers, given the age of the building and everything, everybody was rocking. I could still feel it shake. I was side stage with Eric Moore of the Gods, God bless his heart. Grand Funk Railroad was all back together. Brewer, Shocker, and Mark Farner. And what a show. I'm like, how can these guys keep breaking up? They're that dynamic together.
It is amazing to me. And that's what's going to lead me to this. If you notice, everybody's back in the game now. Everybody's a promoter. Everybody thinks this is easy. Well, here's the problem with it. Because I remember me and Dominic going to Vegas, and you'd get these showcase of shows. Here's Foghat going to play in front of you, Chubby Checker. I mean, I'd sit in the front row just in like everybody else just sitting there like, who cares? I'm just this, oh my gosh, this is great. And then they try to book you while you're there, you know, the promoter. But like the fairs would come in, Campbell Fair, whatever, and they just pay. Here, we're asking 50,000. They would just pay the 50,000.
Write out my check for 50,000.
So now you have to compete. So now you have Vegas. You have all these clubs, gambling club. They'll just pay whatever the freight is. So I can tell you that now, if you noticed, a lot of shows are now starting back up, but they're all competing for the same stuff.
Right.
And it's all still the 80s back genre, or it's here and there. So you're still fighting for Foreigner.
Correct. Right.
And you're still fighting for 38 Special.
Yep, you are.
And you're paying now 4 times what it could cost in the 90s for these acts. We did Foreigner, what, 2008? For a $20 ticket. They're now coming to the amp for like $100 tickets. I'm telling you, I know it sounds really good. I hope it's successful, but people, hopefully they're that desperate because they've been sitting at home with a mask.
Yep.
But I'm not. 2021, you're going to spend $80 for Foreigner again, still without.
Are you? I mean, I've seen a lot of people come and go. Remember Fatty? I think Fatty ran Tin Pan Alley and stuff. He was in and out of the game for a while.
It looks,
there's a few still doing it, but it's hard.
It's really hard because like we would compete with other people around the area, and you're driving the price up. Corey Ward would not know what he's doing. We had this thing done for 15. He offers 20. We're in the same backyard. It's really hard when you got people that maybe have too much money and don't care, or you have somebody that just undercut, and it's a really rocky business.
You know, I think too, and you hear a lot of bands complain about this. You know, even bands are having trouble getting hired. For one, bars cut off their budget. It's like, man, listen, I don't pay any band more than 400, max 500. And you'll see band like Gary Markowski. He's a good friend of ours from Michael Stanley Band. He'll strip down to like basically a trio. You know, Gary Markowski trio, take the full blown band and say, hey, they can't afford to pay us all, you know? So you see a lot of that watered down. So, you know, you're kind of out making a buck any way you can, and you're playing in some smaller venues, but I mean, that's how difficult it's gotten. COVID certainly didn't help the situation.
It didn't. And it really hurt that middle venue. You're either going to go to PPG, Cavelli, or whatever, or you can't hire an expensive act. You just can't do it because you can't get it. You can't get it cheap enough. You can't get enough people to drink, and they have. I know it sounds, but they have to. There has to be a lot of drinking to make the money back. I mean, just to give you we sold almost 400 kegs of beer at Leonard Skinner ZZ Top.
Oh, that was an unbelievable show. That's another one I should.
I was just like
11,000 people, folks.
I warned we were starting a little early, And when I saw my banker laying on his car at like 2 PM, I thought, well, you know what? We might be having a problem here. But to the show that I did, think about all those people packed in there every night, 68 kegs. That's the difference.
Yeah.
68 kegs is not getting it done.
Do you feel like with the acts that you brought in that you had to accommodate them? You had to treat them like Royal Highness. You know Dave Robish from the Funny Farm Comedy Club. He brought in Tom Green, comedian from he brought him to a bowling alley in Warren. And Tom Green got out of his limo and he looked around and goes, "What the F is this?" Excuse my French. He goes, and he gets on stage and he goes, 3 years ago, I was hosting Saturday Night Live on NBC. Tonight, I'm in some dilapidated bowling alley bomb shelter. And I started laughing. I had to. He was scared for his life, and he wouldn't come in until he got on stage. So what I'm asking him, do you feel like you have to accommodate these guys?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. That's so. How about if I got somebody on the phone, I'd talk them into coming. We're in the middle of Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Not exactly telling them where that is.
Right.
I brought in TNA Wrestling, and at the time, it was really kicking some tail. They had a lot of the WWE people. The guy gets out of the limo and gets out, and I show him the Eastwood Expo Center.
Oh, boy.
He opens the door and goes, "You've got to be kidding me." He goes, "There's a pole every 20 feet. I don't know." He goes, "If I didn't like you right now, I swear."
See what I mean?
But I mean, I felt
they don't know
like hillbilly Haven.
I know.
So yeah, like he goes, "What is
Sharp Mansion? Come on down."
He goes, "What is like, Miles anyway? What the heck is that?"
Oh, I know.
And so you talk a good game. Sometimes it's worse than just letting the show go. But I wanted it. I'm bringing it. And he actually came back. He did so well, he came back. So what amazes me is when you think, here's a show that's, I'm doing this, Mickey Thomas. I'm doing that show. I'm doing Georgia Satellites. And I'm losing to the fake band on a 2-lane road down in Warren. I mean, and I'm charging the same amount of money.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's a roll of the dice. And I've spent a fortune promoting mine. They throw out a calendar with the events on it, and that's it. So I don't care what you do. You don't know.
It is really difficult.
It's a tough business,
and then backstage security too. Have you had problems with that? Fans trying to break through?
No.
I'm backstage with Michael Stanley at the Maronite
Always
Center.
had that.
I'll never forget this. And he's changing. He's in his boxer shorts, putting on his outfit. And all of a sudden, a girl breaks through security. She's out of breath, Tom. She'd never mind me. She looked right through me. She goes, "Michael." I'll never forget the look of excitement on her face. She goes, "Michael, it's you. Oh my God. I always wanted to meet you my whole life. My friends dared me to break backstage through security, and I did it." And he didn't bat an eye. Tommy looked at her and he goes, "You did? Now go." And she slumped off. And at first I cringed. I'm like, "Oh boy, he just ruined her image of you." But then I thought, he has to look out and protect himself too. And if somebody broke through security, I mean, that puts his health in potential jeopardy. But how do you look at that?
So many different times with him. I thought he was a bit pompous for what I thought.
And people love him. And I love him. You love him.
He never ever did have some yippee personality.
Right.
That was never his thing.
No, he's very low key.
He's always been low. So you can't he's backstage and he's just barely giving you, talking to you. And I remember, he wanted certain things. He would get a little agitated. I thought he would be more
demonstrative,
but a little more peppy. Thankful. Yeah. We're still paying you 20 G's at this stage. You were a Cleveland act anyway. I don't know. I guess I was expecting a little more than some of the times where he just wasn't in a good mood or whatever.
He just drew. I mean, it was always good to me. Honestly, I can't say.
He played so many songs too.
Yeah.
Everyone knows him.
It's true. Every album, every cut. I mean, if you can go back to the early
He
80s
could
catalog.
sit there, yeah, for hours.
Every album, song by song by song. And, you know, and like I said, our buddy Gary Markowski, he's still going around doing a tribute
Who's the
band.
one that did? Who's the one that went out on their own? Really hot tonight. Oh,
From Michael Stanley?
Yeah, who's the
Kevin
other?
Raleigh went solo.
There's two.
He had a song, Moonlight on Water. If you
Who
remember
was the
that,
other one that
1989.
left and did really hot tonight?
Jonah Coslin went solo.
Jonah Coslin.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What was that group?
Breathless.
Breathless.
Yeah.
That's it. I didn't even know it. Who else knows
You'll be
that?
taking it back.
God, that was such a great song, though.
Great stuff.
Jonah Coslin. What else did he did? Didn't he do the? What other songs did he sing? He did the.
He had a couple.
Strike It Up. Did he do the Strike It Up? Strike It Up. I can't remember.
Well, he's mostly known for that Live Stage Pass album in '77. That was his grand farewell. I mean, it was just like, and then you know, Gary come aboard, and I thought Gary took him to great heights. You know, with Heartland, Cabin Fever, and some of those great albums from back then, MSB, and it was great. But no, I always miss Michael. And what people don't realize, you know, on like He Can't Love You, a lot of people, oh, you know, I saw the MTV video, that a great video, a great saxophone they play. So that's Clarence Clemens from
right, that's right.
You know, that's on the actual recording is Clarence Clemens from the E Street Band and Bruce Springsteen. But you know, honestly, I feel like you and I could just talk music forever and ever.
Well, there's a lot of stuff we skipped. I can tell you that, but
I'd like to talk some of the interviews and how I found to be these people. And you know, Tommy, as much as I enjoy the 80s rock artists, I enjoy the 60s artists because they were wonderful. And a lot of these people are dead now, and they are treasured mementos to me. Chubby Checker is still alive, but I mean, I talked to Chubby when he was getting snubbed by the Hall of Fame. Well, I didn't really care about it, but I can tell he did. Leslie Gore, God bless her heart, she's no longer here. The Turtles and Jay and the American Jay Black, who carried Karamia to such high extremes. But it was Paul Anka was dynamic. Oh, Little Richard is no longer with. I got to.
Paul Anka was one of them.
Honestly,
he did that song with Chicago too. Hold Me Till the Night. I thought that was
great stuff.
Really good ending song for his.
But that's something I guess in the future, you know, we could expand upon. But just, you know, I've been really blessed.
How about just best interview, worst interview, and the one that was most exciting for you?
Well, that's boy, there's so many.
One of the best.
Okay,
let's not go best.
You know what meant a lot to me, in the fact that he would talk to me, Rick Springfield, and the reason being, my high school girlfriend, biggest crush on. We used to watch MTV, and he would like get her all excited for me, you know. And I would be like, "Hey, Rick, you don't know this, but you did me a lot of favors from your MTV videos when I was in my early 20s." It's true. And then Dr. Noah Drake, she loved him. And then all of a sudden, I'm talking to Rick Springfield. I mean, you know, a little guy from McDonald. So that was Todd Rundgren was another. Todd only because he's so intellectual. If you don't know your stuff, he will call you out. And he paid me the highest compliment. He goes, "You are well informed."
Oh, I'll bet he
From
did.
Todd to tell me that meant a lot. I wouldn't say bad interview, but a tough interview. Ted Nugent. And the reason is, and I love him to death, you ask him one question, and Tom, you won't have to ask a second question for 20 minutes because he just goes on a roll. And I have this, and I have my gun, and I do this, and how about it, Johnny? I mean, he's just a wild man, but fun. I wouldn't say bad interview. I can't think of anybody that was
like a Robin Williams goes off into these.
Exactly.
You just sit there and watch it.
I will give you a comedian that I thought was horrible, and he came on our old morning show, Pauly Shore.
Really?
Yeah, a D and a K, and you could fill in the rest in between.
Was he a marginal talent? He
says he tells my morning partner, he says, "Turn the lights off. It bothers my eyes. It's too early in the morning." And I'm like, and I told my partner, I'm like, really? I'm like, he ain't worth it. And that's a true story. And I lost so much respect for him. I did. That was a bad interview.
It's always these marginal.
He didn't want to be there, and
that have this attitude.
And I didn't want him there at the end. I couldn't believe that he was being accommodated like that. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, he was a half-assed for about 3 years. No, where's he at now?
I don't know. I have no idea. But
you know what? It brings the great acts. So you have to be really careful who you get, who has enough hits to carry a show, a food show.
That's true.
George Thorogood would be like the ultimate rib fest.
I think he would be great for the Rib Fest.
I mean, he's like or you could do John Fogerty. Always wanted to do John Fogerty.
Boy, I tell you what, that would be a heck of a show.
Big fan of Dire Knopfler. I think
in Dire Straits.
I thought he was a huge talent that didn't even come close to doing all that because he's a great guitar player too. I mean,
and I remember for years it was rumored that Joe Walsh was going to be here, and finally they got him to come in. I remember our buddy down in Cavelli, he'd ask me all the time, "What do you think of Joe Walsh?"
Yeah,
bring him, get him.
Dominic would try to get him
it's like,
all the time, right about his Eagles prime, where he was still like really. I'm not sure if the Eagles are they even doing anything anymore. I don't even know, but he had some great pull. I just don't know. I mean, you can't expect these guys that partied hard in the 70s to keep on filling up your lists.
Oh, absolutely.
And
and don't laugh. A band I did get to see, because they used to always only tour California and the West Coast. And they came to Cleveland, I would say 3 or 4 years ago. I took my friend Sharon Toto. I got to see Toto.
One of the greatest bands of all
time. You talk about a slew of hits. No, yeah, they're on the softer side and everything. Oh, hey, but they could rock.
That song they did with
Africa Rosanna,
Michael McDonald is one of the
Don't Hold Me Back. I mean, 99.
My favorite one. That's one of my, but the one Till Forever's Gone. What is that? Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
I think that's just amazing.
Beautiful stuff.
But those are like
ballads.
Unbelievable musicians. They can all sing. They just don't have anything that even remotely comes close to it now. You have all this fringe music. They make one YouTube song and they disappear. The days of somebody putting together a band, putting it on and actually having a career over.
And Tommy, that's why I go, and I think you're the same way. Like, we talked a little earlier when we went to Nautica, we saw, Donald Fagen, and this is about as good as it's going to get, seeing Steely Dan and Boz Scaggs. Who sees Boz Scaggs live in concert? And Michael McDonald. These are tough acts to see. So years ago with the old Tangier in Akron, I went to see Ambrosia, and that meant more to me. You can give me tickets to see Ambrosia. I'd rather go see that than I would any. And no offense, you give me tickets to Lil Wayne, I don't even want them. You can't pay me to take them. I'm sorry, it's true.
I feel the same.
It's and so and listen,
I saw the outfield in a little place.
Now I like the outfield
in Hilton Head. I went on vacation with the Cavaro family. It was just a lucky thing. They happened to be big fans. We went into this place called the Monkey, whatever, and maybe 100 people saw a tremendous show. Every now and then you just get really lucky. But I mean, outfield had like 5 or 6 really good songs.
They did. And Josie wasn't. Oh, I mean, it's just a great band.
Your song that you played the other day when we were hanging out, the guitar, man, it all ends up on that road, doesn't it? Unless you're one of a few bands, you're just out there playing. Now all of a sudden you got 100 people there, and most of the people don't.
Honestly, before I got into classic rock, it was pop, soft rock, and it will always live in my heart. I'm sorry, but I mean, that's what I was raised on.
What's the song Sunday I turned on? And what was the one that nobody else is gonna know?
LeBlanc and Falling, 1977, Big Tree Records. I'm falling in love.
That, and then one of my other Silver. Wham,
bam, shang-a-lang. Yeah, One Hit Wonder, 1976.
One Hit Wonder. How about that? We're playing that at Waldemere Park and over again. And my daughter's sitting there, and I'm going, and she's going, "This is so ridiculous song." I go, "No, yeah." So about the 5th time, we were both doing it together. Wham, bam, and it's something you can't say you don't like that song. You can't say it.
I know. I know.
With a straight face, you gotta like that.
I like it. There's something catchy about it, and
That's
it's
a-
always actually my youngest daughter and I. That's one of our favorite songs together. I raced her on that song. Silver Wham Bam Shang-a-Lang from '76. It's true.
And you know what's funny about that song? They wrote that song. Nobody wanted to do it. And they go, here, you guys haven't had a hit since whatever. Hitler was in the army. You want to try it? They take it after working on all these songs. They get a song called Wham Bam, and that's the one that does it.
And I seriously, it's always going to be one of my favorites. I love those one-hit wonders, especially from the '70s, and once in a while you pull one out from the '80s. But the '70s was so notorious for that. Great artists. And
one hit because there's a billion people that didn't have zero
hits. Yep, absolutely.
So you found one on your Ronco record.
Yep, absolutely.
The 8-track
tape.
tape.
Yeah, absolutely. If you order now
and you made it, it's
That's
still
not
going
all.
around today.
We've got 15 bonus hits. Oh yeah.
Or that put your penny on the thing,
Yeah,
get 12
remember,
records.
Oh, remember that at the tape club?
Yeah.
And you get all this. I remember the cassette era, and they would send all those to me, and it's like,
Man, I get that box out, get all those albums.
I know.
Never paid for
And that is just too fun. I never did pay them either. And I had all these cassettes. It's true story. It's Columbia, right?
Yeah.
Columbia.
Give them a penny.
Oh, absolutely.
I got another 12.
You take your penny, right? Here's 12 for a penny. As long as you agree to pay us.
Yeah.
$400
I'm like
in
15
the next 2
years old.
years.
I'm not doing it.
I don't think it's going to happen. Tommy, I really
Thanks,
enjoyed
man.
this.
I really appreciate it. I knew it would be fun.
NostraThomas.
We didn't even
I'll
have
tell you
any
what.
script. Did we really need
Nothing.
one?
We just went off the cuff. It was good times, though.
Great times, man.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content.